So 12:30 at night in your underwear, in the rain, 55 degrees, staking down your rain fly. Good times. Today I'm reviewing the RDS Gear Obsidian tent. RDS stands for Rapid Deployment Shelter. The Obsidian series shelter has a capacity of 6 to 8 people and approximately 110 square feet interior space. There's 2 doors, 16 windows, all with mesh screens for a 360-degree view. It's insulated. It has 60-gram insulated Oxford 600D walls with a blockout interior for day sleeping. It accepts AC unit, 4 zippered rooftop vents, 2 zippered electrical cord ports, reinforced corners, reinforced side hubs, removable top hanging pocket, 2 removable side hanging pockets, a waterproof rain fly with guy lines, and removable coated waterproof floor with heavy duty zippers. In this video, I state that I wasn't sure that they were waterproof, but after being on their website, I now know that they are waterproof. Along with a waterproof carry bag. Fabric is water resistant, flame resistant, and UV resistant. Shelter includes integrated webbing loops on every rooftop corner, inside and out for attaching LED lighting. Has toiletry organizers and zippered air conditioning and electrical ports. It's a 4-season tent and it's insulated. I take a deep dive in this video on what I like and don't like about this tent, and it might sound like I hate this tent. But you know what? I don't hate this tent. I actually really do like it. I'd probably buy it again if I could afford to again. They are very expensive. They've gone up in price since I bought this over a year ago. I think it was like $1,200. That's what I remember. And their website now says they're $1,500. Along with the new rain fly, which is actually not a new rain fly, but it's the heat shield, which I think would be a much better fly to be bought with this tent. It should have come with this tent. The heat shield was $300. It's now $500. So that being said, I still like it, despite some of the things that I don't like about it. I'm also not sponsored by RDS Gear, nor am I paid for this review. So my initial impression of this tent was that I really liked it. I wanted to really like it. I like 2 things about it. It went up really easy. If you have to carry it like 100 yards into the woods, probably not very easy, especially by yourself. The other thing I really like about it is how dark it is inside. So anytime you go to a campground and you got other campers and you got people driving through the campground, those aren't my favorite campgrounds, but sometimes you got to stay at them just because they're near where you want to be. So this tent, because it's so dark inside, what happens is anybody with a flashlight or a car driving around it, it doesn't cast a shadow, it doesn't project light into the tent, it doesn't project your shadow on the other side of the tent.
Do you really need this?
I'll ask you not to open that inside, thank you very much.
Sorry.
Okay.
So that's something a lot of people don't think about when they're in a tent. Those are the 2 things I really like about this tent. It's great ventilation because you got 360 degrees of windows, which also helps get light in. Speaking of light, when the tent is really dark inside, you also need to have light inside of it. So you always have to have some kind of battery. I would not recommend a propane lantern. Not only does it give off moisture, but it could get too hot and cause a fire. Knock it over, something happens. I failed to mention that if you have a flame, an open flame, like from a buddy heater or a propane lantern, you're going to burn the oxygen up inside the tent pretty quick unless you're vented properly, and I explain in a little bit why that's hard to do with this tent. So you always have to have some kind of battery backup and some type of lighting system. I mean, sure, you could have a flashlight, but that gets annoying, especially if you're trying to do something with both hands. The other huge downside to this tent is the rain fly. When that rain fly is on, it covers all of the windows. They're covered. They're completely blocked off from any type of airflow. Even these vents at the very top. You know, they were right on with doing this to prop this vent open. Having this stick-like thing. I don't know what's in there, but it's not big enough really to keep it pushed open. That was genius on their part for that. But even that gets covered by the rain fly. Rain fly goes over this, and it's formed to the shape of this tent. Because of that, there's no way to really get airflow in underneath the rain fly and into the tent. So what I've done is I've actually taken sticks and gone around And right here, where these handles are to pull the tent open, I would stick a stick and wedge it, and then wedge it out on the rainfly, which works and is really good at actually getting airflow back into the tent. But then what happens is now you've got a sharp, pointy stick on the rainfly. That could put a hole in it and then cause all kinds of problems. I've used this several times now. It's been a couple camping trips, and this last one, it rained really hard, and I did not put the rainfly on the first night we were there. And I didn't put the rainfly on because we weren't expected to get rain till the next day in the afternoon. So, you know how the Weather Channel works. Of course, it rained, and what woke me up was the rain. You could hear it, obviously, on the tent, and so there's pockets on the inside of this. And those pockets, I put my phone in it. I put other stuff just so it's up. I know where it is. It's out of the way, and I can get to it easily. As soon as I reached for that phone, I had water pouring on my hand. And I don't mean dripping, I mean pouring. Mind you, all the windows were up because it was 55 degrees out, cold, obviously, and we were still getting rain pouring in. Every window at every edge where the zipper ends, just pouring in. And I jump up and I just strip down to my skivvies, and I'm running around this tent at midnight, putting the rainfly on. And the reason why I went out in my skivvies is because I didn't want to get all my clothes wet. So now I'm cold. Now I'm soaking wet. And fortunately we had towels in the tent, and they weren't up in the Jeep, and I was able to dry off quickly. They do sell a different fly, and it's meant for heat. It's like a heat shield. It's like a reflective type of material. I'm not sure if it's the same material that the rain fly is made out of. I would hope that it's waterproof, but if you see that in the pictures, that thing actually has a wider spread, and it looks like you can get airflow underneath that, but it's meant to reflect the sun off the top of it. The reason why I don't have that is because it was an additional $300. And I felt like that was a lot. And that thing, for the cost of this tent, which I think at the time was about $1,300, maybe a little bit more with tax and shipping. That's a lot of money for a tent. And to come with a rain fly that doesn't allow airflow underneath it to go through your windows, I think that's a huge downside to this tent. So to have to spend extra money on a rain fly that should come with the tent for the price that you're paying, wasn't too thrilled with that. The other thing I sort of mentioned is how heavy this tent is. It is over 100 pounds with the rain fly, the stakes, and the floor in the bag, and the bag itself is heavy. The one nice thing about the floor is it's waterproof, so it did, all that water that did come in puddled in spots, and we were able to soak it up really quickly with the towel, so that was very fortunate. But now our shower towels are soaking wet, and we had to go buy extra towels. So those are the big downsides to this tent. So the floor, waterproof, very nice. So that also means water isn't going to come up through. And something that I originally wasn't too thrilled about was the bag, because I was not sure if it was waterproof. I'm pretty sure it's waterproof now, and I'm pretty sure of that because it's the same material that the floor is made out of. So it's got like this like rubber coating on top of the canvas, so it's built in. Now how long is that rubber coating going to hold up and stay attached to the floor? That's yet to be seen. But the reason why I like that the bag is waterproof is because now it can be on my roof rack, because this thing also is very long. It's about at least 6 feet long, and the first time I ever used it, I didn't like the idea of strapping it to the roof rack on my Jeep, because I just had 2 crossbars, and the way my crossbars were, it only allowed for so much space that the tent would sit on, so it had a lot of overhang on either end. And I didn't really like that, so obviously if you've watched my channel, you've seen the roof rack I've put on, and that now it sits perfectly up there. It's supported from end to end completely, and I've got multiple tie-down points. So having it up there, driving in the rain, now I think I can be fairly confident that it's not going to get wet going down the road, so that makes me happy. Originally that was a complaint, but they don't specify any of this stuff when you buy it. They don't say that the floor is waterproof. They don't say that the bag is waterproof. Another cool thing is that the floor can be zippered out, so you can take it out, you can leave it in, you can fold the whole thing up with the floor attached. It's a lot more heavier that way, a little more bulkier that way too. But being able to take it out and clean it separately from the tent is a fantastic feature. I really like that. But not to completely knock this tent, it is made very well. I really like it in terms of its durability, its quality. Something else I noticed, that when all the windows are zipped up and it's daylight out, you can actually be inside and you see pinholes all over the place of where the needles have poked through. I wasn't aware at 12:30, 12 o'clock at night of water coming in those pinholes because I was more concerned about where it was pouring in through the windows. That being said, with the rainfly on, this lower half is exposed. There was no water seeping through the walls that I noticed. I didn't see any like water spots coming in. And because of having the rainfly on, tons of moisture just builds up inside of this thing. So that's not a fun thing when all your stuff starts getting damp. One of the nice features about this is that you have these ports on the inside. And this is actually meant for air conditioning. So inside of here, these two pieces unzip and you can stuff hoses through here for an air conditioning system. And then a couple spots around the tent, you've got these different ports for like an electrical cord, also with a spot on the inside that unzips. And they have this nice little hood to keep the rainwater from going in there. Also, when it rained, I had water. There was water here coming through on these vents. And when you're in here, set up with your bedding, you're pretty much against the wall. And those windows are above you. So everything was getting soaked. We had to push everything to the center and just hope that nothing else would get wet. Up here, you can see I've got these, my wife calls these twinkle lights because they twinkle, but it's a LED strand on a wire. You just plug this into a USB port on some type of battery pack system that you have. There is 2 doors. I like the 2 doors. That's cool. Both with screens. I've been wanting to like change the pulls on the zippers so that you know which one's which, because when these are zippered up, you have no idea. You got all these dangly bits and you're like, which one's which, and you're trying to get out and it's annoying. So I would like to maybe put red ones on the inside for the screen, or maybe red ones on the outside for the door. I'm not sure, but at any, you know, just to make it so you can tell which is which. So you've got all 4 of these things just hanging here. The same 4 down at the bottom at the other end of the door. Color coding on these things would be nice. The other thing with the rainfly is you have to stake it down. There's no way to attach it to the tent without stakes. So 12:30 at night in your underwear, in the rain, 55 degrees, staking down your rainfly. Good times. They do use seam tape on all the seams on the rainfly. That's a pretty nice feature. So if you're considering buying this tent, it's just a couple of things to take note of before you make that purchase. So I do like the tent though. It was either this or an RV, and this was much cheaper. This also gives you more freedom. This gives you freedom to go pretty much wherever you want, whether it be a campground, your backyard, or, you know, dispersed camping. You can also set this up, leave it out, and now you've got base camp. So if you're wheeling, you don't have to pack up your rooftop tent and pack up all your stuff. You can just leave this thing out here. So it definitely gives you the freedom, and if you're out wheeling, you don't need to have all that extra weight on your roof. Thanks for watching. If you got anything out of this, please hit that like, subscribe. Helps me out a lot. Also, let me know what you think about this tent. If you have any thoughts, do you have this tent? What's your experience?